Hello, hello, and welcome to the Connecting Point. I am Dr. Marcy, your facilitator for this discussion today. This is the place where creators connect to inspire, share their ideas and stories to transform the world through raw and unedited talk. Now, audience, today I am here with someone who is an expertise, a strategist in branding. How many of y'all need branding? Matter of fact, to be honest with you, everybody got a brand, don't they?
That's right.
Everybody got one, but how you working that brand? That's what we're going
Mm-hmm.
to talk about. We're going to get
Absolutely.
into that today. Welcome to the Connecting Point, Miss Megan Molix.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me, Dr. Marcy. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. And like she said, my name is Megan Molix. I am a personal brand strategist, and I work with creatives, professionals, entrepreneurs, and public figures to help them maintain their public image and not just maintain, but build that authentic personal brand that they can also monetize.
Yes, and I'm so happy that she's here because she's here for you, but she's also here for me. I, yes, because I like gleaning from others that have something that I don't have. And that's what we should be doing anyway. We should be learning, lifelong learners, and I am willing to learn. Now, Megan, I have to tell the connecting point,
Mhm.
thus the name of this platform. Well, Megan and I ended up in the same moment, the space of time.
Mm,
Yes, we were both presenters at a recent Icebreaker conference, and we're
yeah.
both members of a prestigious group of creators,
Mm.
leaders. Yes, we're professionals. We are polished professionals with the Polished Professional Network. So shout out to we're gonna say Dr. Morrow, Brittany, and
Right.
shout out to Dr. Samos Mays, yes, for making this connecting point here. Okay.
Mm, yes.
So, Megan, will you tell the audience a little bit about where you're from and where you are now?
Absolutely. I think we're in the same state. I'm in South Georgia. I believe you're in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've
Well,
been down
Douglas
here.
County, yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so we're in the same area. And so I've been here just about my whole life. And um, I love serving people, which is how I got to where I am right now in doing the work that I do. I actually started out doing this for my church.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to save my church some money.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught myself how to do graphic design, social media management, marketing, all of that good stuff. And listen, if you know God, then you know nothing is by mistake.
Oh, no.
So once I started getting into it and really learning about everything, then doors started opening. People would see the work that I was doing for my pastors and for my ministry. And my pastors were my biggest advocates, my biggest marketers. Everything was by word of mouth. And my business started. It wasn't even a business at that time. And it was more like a side gig, which is normally how a lot of great businesses start out. It was something I was just doing on the side. And it turned into what it is now, Molix and Company, that I do alongside with my mother, which is like a whole nother conversation of just how God did that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where we are right now, and we love serving people. We love serving leaders. I love seeing people accomplish their dreams, their goals. And one of the things that I do this with, even within my ministry, is I serve the leadership. And so I see firsthand, as a leader, as someone who, whether you're a leader in ministry or you're a leader in your community, I see firsthand the struggles. I
Mm-hmm.
see firsthand how tiring it can be. I see firsthand how you have to get up and go in spite of obstacles and challenges. And that is where I believe God has called me to in that moment, to help people, leaders in that moment, as they are going from point A to point B, as they are building whatever it is that they are building. It's my job to help them to not only build, but to help strengthen them in that moment of building as well.
Listening to you, I'm thinking about myself and
Mhm.
this podcast actually.
Mhm.
It was trial and error. You hear me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But all I knew is God said, do it. And
Hmm.
so I look back on old videos. I said, Lord, I look tore up from the floor up. Didn't know,
All of us.
didn't know anything about any of this, but I've had to learn how to do it myself.
Hmm.
And I just told a friend this evening, now that I've gotten so far, it's time for me to bring in some
Hmm.
experts because
Hmm.
I've carried this as far as I can on my own,
Right.
which
Right.
let's talk a little bit about that. The importance of
Okay.
gleaning from others and also
Hmm.
pulling in people who can help you do things because we can't do everything by
Hmm.
ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, greatness takes a team. Greatness takes people around you because, like you said, you can't do everything on your own. And if you're focused on the management aspect of your business, then you can't truly be the CEO that you are. And so, for a lot of people who are solopreneurs, and not just solopreneurs, but people who are, building a podcast, or those who are starting an organization, or those someone who may be a politician, a lot of times you get started on your own. And that's because you're the visionary. You have the vision. And most visionaries, they are great with the vision. They are great with going the strategic direction. But the little things in between, they're not always the best as. However, when you're starting something, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
And a lot of people, and I commend you for that, because a lot of people, they won't even start because they feel they know it, they have to know everything. And all it takes is just to start. And as you start, then the right people come along. So having the mindset when you are growing, and that's how you know that it's time to grow.
yeah.
When listen, I can't do this on my own. I have to grow. Growing, you need those arms. Listen, Jesus had 12 and he was the
Hey,
savior of the world.
mhm,
So
yeah,
if he had 12, then how much more shall we have 12 or 5 or 3 or 2 or even one sometimes? But you have to get to that point to where you can say, okay, I can trust this person with my vision. I can trust them to help me grow my vision. So you're trusting yourself and you're also putting your vision, your baby, in the trust of someone else, which obviously takes discernment and wisdom of
yeah.
utilizing, that to find the right person. But you definitely need to have someone there to help you grow, because the vision can only expand with a team.
That's it. And I've learned that a lot. I have a nonprofit as well, and trying to pull
Mhm.
people in, and people are
Mhm.
not really invested as you are.
Mhm.
Not
Right.
that they don't want to be invested, but they got stuff going on too. Because one thing about it, leaders beget leaders.
Right.
We kind of gravitate to each other. So
Right.
most of the people that are in my circle, they're also on the grind and doing
Right.
their own businesses. So I had to take that into consideration when having the nonprofit and the LLC and having a 9 to 5 I'm punching into every day.
Yes.
And so
Mhm.
balancing those things has taught me how I need other people. I cannot.
Mhm.
I cannot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, speaking of needing other people, the journey gets a little tough
Hmm.
because you have to remain consistent.
Yes.
In
Absolutely.
order for anything to work out, you got to stick to it. and keep going and keep going. And, you know, I think I just mentioned to you before we popped on, I watched a documentary on Tyler Perry, Maxine's Baby. And one thing I can say about Tyler Perry is he was consistent.
Right.
Even when it didn't feel good, even when doors were slammed in his face, he stayed consistent. And so persevering is sometimes one of the hardest things to do. When you have vision, you know what God told you to do, but things don't seem like they're lining up. Now, Megan, how do we handle that?
So perseverance is a big word for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And for visionaries. And you know, there's such thing as pain when it comes to that perseverance. Because if you truly persevere, it's going to cause for you to have to be consistent and move in spite of. Because listen, you're the solopreneur, you're the visionary. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, then nothing happens within your organization and in your business. So this means that the mindset, it all comes back to the mindset. The mindset that you have to have as a CEO, as a visionary. You have to have this mindset that says, no matter what, I have to build this empire. This has to get done. And there are days when things will happen that are hurtful and that things are going to let you down and people are going to let you down and you have to make decisions. And the everyday is not, I think a lot of people feel that entrepreneurship is this, oh, I'm working for myself and
Oh,
everything.
honey. They don't have a clue.
No, they do not have a clue. And we see this because most first-time entrepreneurs fail within the first 3 years. Most of them within the first year. And that's because they don't understand consistency. And what I was taught is, how were you on your regular 9 to 5 before you went into entrepreneurship? If you weren't consistent on someone else's job, then you're not going to be consistent on your own. So we do have to think about this. Having a 9 to 5 is not a bad thing. I have a 9 to 5 and I have my business as well. It does take balance, but it takes a special kind of mindset to be able to persevere. And this is where the team comes in. This is why you have to have people in your corner on days when it's hard, when you don't want to, when you want to give up. You have to have a team. So that way you have people who can reinforce your values and your vision back to you. Now, I always tell people, don't get the yes men. This is not the yes men. Get the people who are going to remind you, okay, we need to get this done. You are built for more. What has happened is not going to be the end. It's not the end of the world. These are stumbling blocks that every CEO has to go through. These are stumbling blocks that every person building a brand has to go through. These are things that you have to go through. And truthfully, they are going to strengthen you in the process.
Yes.
Because if you can get over this, then the next thing that comes up, you have that wisdom on how to handle it. You know how to be better prepared. So this is why God gave us that perseverance. And this is why we have to utilize it, that consistency. And I tell people all the time, when you think about consistency, don't think about it from a numerical point of view. Think of the consistency from a quality. Even if you don't show up every day, when you do show up with the quality. And once the quality is there, then the consistency on every day is going to automatically kick in, because then it's going to become easier for you.
And, you know, I think too, a lot of people, they begin working with vision. Now you have vision and you see it, but you don't see a return on financially, and you're like, what is going on? I want to tell people, this is something I learned from experience. I'm not an expert in it, is that you have to do a lot of investing in your own vision at first, before anybody is going to grab a hold and run with you.
Right.
If they do not see that you are willing to invest in your own business, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about the time, like you just mentioned, quality. My thing is, I if it can be excellent, I don't really want to
Right.
deal with. That's how I look at it. Not that
Right.
I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm not
Right.
putting no riffraff out there. That's just not how
Right.
Dr. Marcy rolls.
Absolutely.
And I have been doing it consistently. So people already know
Mhm.
if I get with Marcy, I know it's not going to be looking shisty.
Right.
And that's what
Absolutely.
you want. That's what you want. Seeing so many people in businesses, they say they're going to do something and the quality is not there.
Oh gosh, yes.
Amen.
Yes. Yes, yes. And as a brand person, I look at that. I look for that first.
Mm.
I have an eye for quality and for excellence. And even if it's something small, it can still be excellent.
It can still be excellent. I'm going to tell something that I did maybe about 2 months ago. I reached out to someone who's a family friend, but celebrity in her own right. I said, now tell me what I need to do to this podcast. Where do I need to
Mhm.
improve? I'm asking because I
Right,
already know there's something to improve upon. And
right.
she said to me, where do you think you need to be? And I was like, I
Mhm.
don't know. But that is what you need. If you think you're not going to need help to
Yeah.
persevere,
Oh gosh, yes.
sadly mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's talk a little bit about um, building.
Mhm.
Where does a person even start with building a brand?
Okay. So if you are a person and you feel as if you're starting from scratch, the first thing that you want to look at is your expertise. What are the values that you have? What are the things that people come to you for on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Look at that. Look at your skills. Look at your talents. And sometimes I meet people and they say, Megan, I don't have any skills. I don't have any talents. Listen, we all have talents. You have a skill. There's something that only you can do that no one else can do. Look at that. And another thing is when I walk through with people on this, I always ask them, what did you want to do when you were a child? Because a lot of times that is a big indicator
Yes, it is.
on your purpose. It's a big indicator on the natural skills and talents that you already have. So I would say if you're wanting to build a brand, start there. Look at your expertise. Now, if you're already working in your expertise, such as a professional, someone who's already in middle management or upper management or CEO level, then look at what you're doing and look at what's making you money and build on that. Build your brand on that. Write out again all of your values, write down your mission statement. Now, some people may say, mission statement and the values doesn't have to come right away. I disagree
Yes,
because
it
as you
will.
are building your brand and as you are growing, you're going to want to collaborate with other people. You're going to, of course, the biggest is you're going to want to appeal to your audience. And these people need to know what you stand for, and you need to know what you stand for because not every opportunity that comes before you is going to be the right kind of opportunity. And so I love to use the example of someone who I consider one of my business mentors is her name is Nicole Walters.
Mhm.
And I love Nicole Walters because every time that she speaks, she always tells people, I am a God girl. She always says that if you want me on a platform, know that I'm bringing God with me. And she says this because if you are someone who's wanting to collab with her and you don't have that belief or you don't want it, then you already know not to
Yes,
ask her.
that's right.
So this is why I tell people your brand is very important, and you have to not just package it, but you have to have a firm foundation of what are going to be your core beliefs, what's going to be your foundation of your brand. Once you have all of that in place, then next it's just packaging it for your audience. Your audience, your target audience is the most critical piece, because guess what? You are a brand, you are a business, and yes, you want to make money, but you're serving people. And every time I talk about branding, I always say it's almost like a relationship. Okay.
Mm.
So you have to think about the relationships that you have with your significant others or your friends. They're not one-sided relationships. So it's the same thing. You are building a relationship with an audience, a target audience. And so you have to get to know them. You have to know their pain points. You have to know their desires. You have to know what their goals are. You have to know them better than they know themselves, so that you can effectively build your brand that will appeal to them and obviously market to them as well.
So, Megan, would you say that your brand is connected to your purpose?
Oh my gosh, Dr. Marcy, I would absolutely listen. Purpose is one of my favorite words in the
Yes.
whole world. I would absolutely have to say that. And I had to learn that trial and error. I had to learn that because at first I tried to build my brand off of many other different things,
Mhm.
many different other identities. But it was trial and error for me. And I said, okay, Megan, what is your purpose? What's your true identity? What's your true destiny? Build your brand off of this.
Yes.
Now, sometimes I run into people who suffer from, and which a lot of people go through this, they deal with imposter syndrome. And a lot
Mm.
of times, if you are moving in imposter syndrome, you're moving from a place of fear, or you're moving from a place of shame, or you're moving from a place of you're skilled, you're talented, and people come to you, but you don't feel qualified. You're self sabotaging yourself. And
So,
so,
Megan, tell people what that is first, because
yeah,
we hear the term all the time,
mhm,
but can you explain what that is, imposter syndrome? Because people need to hear this
absolutely.
now. They need to hear this.
Absolutely. So imposter syndrome is this limiting belief that you have the accomplishments. You have I will use an example. I'll use myself as an example. I had the accomplishments. I had the proof that everything that I was doing was working for my clients and working for people. Yet when I got to a certain place, when it came to me actually starting my business, I had this mentality that I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not made for this. People aren't going to believe me. People aren't going to, buy from me. People aren't going to book me. So imposter syndrome is simply it's a lie from the enemy is really what it is, but it's a limiting belief that tells you that ultimately you're not good enough for what you're already doing. You already have the proof that you can do it. But when it's time to grow, when it's time to go to that next level, that imposter syndrome starts speaking to us and says, you're not qualified for that. You're not good enough for that, or something like that. So that's what, and you ultimately feel like an imposter. You feel like you're in a position that you should not be in. And thus, people will build their brand from a limited place. And
Mm.
it's my job to come in and help them tear down that limiting belief, if they should have it, and say, no, stop downplaying yourself. This is a great indicator. If you are someone who has a brand or a business and you're severely undercharging because you don't feel that you should be charging, or you're working for free, that's an indication of imposter syndrome. That's a big one, because people will come to me and they'll say, and they will have impactful brands and businesses. And I'm asking, why aren't you charging effectively for your product or service? And they say, Megan, well, I just don't feel right. It's just a little old something or a little old this. Everything starts little and it will grow. And I tell people, you are sabotaging yourself, because now you are limiting yourself, and now you're limiting your income. And now that
Mm.
you're limiting your income, you are sabotaging your business because your business cannot sustain without income.
That. Now, I would say the real imposter
Mhm.
is the opposite of God.
Right,
It's the enemy
right,
telling you that you can't do it.
right,
You're not equipped to do it.
right,
And it's a lie
right.
to stop you from doing it. And if we even look at purpose,
Mhm.
the enemy, that's what he wants you to stop doing. Your
Right,
purpose, what you
absolutely,
were put here to do, because your purpose is going to help other people.
absolutely.
So let's think about that. The mind, and you're talking about, I can't do it. You got what you need. You're already equipped
Right,
with what you need. When God put you here, he already knew the purpose and plans he had for you. All you need to do is hone in on them and develop
right,
them.
absolutely.
Find, for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example.
Mhm.
When I was in elementary school, let's put it that way, elementary school, I used to teach baby dolls in my bedroom. I didn't know
Wow.
anything about purpose and none of that. I just did what I
Mhm.
desired to do. That
Right,
from me taking little summer jobs working with children. Then when I went
right.
off to college, I had a problem. I said, now, do I want to sing or do I want to continue working with children? And so they both integrated to where I ended up teaching music. Okay.
Right.
However, as time went on, God had to show me, oh no, darling, that was just something to get you to where I really want you. And
Right.
you're not a music teacher. That is the
Mhm.
title that you were
Right.
given to work on the job. You are an integrationist. And I'm like, oh Lord, I'm an integrationist. And I knew that because what I enjoy is connecting ideas, connecting
Mhm.
people. And then years later, I'm talking about years, the connecting point fell here. I
Wow.
knew it was God. Because what is that? Integrating is what? Connecting.
Connecting. Right.
And
Wow.
it doesn't stop. He keeps adding and adding and adding. It does not, it won't stop until I leave this earth.
That's right.
Because I'm in my purpose. And so when you're in there, you know it.
Right.
You know it. And it's something that you really can't stop doing if you tried.
Right. Right.
I'm just saying it. And that is
Right.
your purpose is your brand. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
We think, oh, I gotta have a big symbol and da 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 da. You are the brand when you're walking into a room. I remember, Megan, you presented this during the Icebreaker Conference about you being the brand.
Hmm.
And if you start looking at it that way, when you walk in the room, you're gonna be cognitive of what you're saying out of your mouth, how you're dressing, and who you're with,
Right.
who you're working with.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
that, Megan?
Absolutely.
That building,
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely. Yes. So you are so right. Listen, you are the brand. This is why I chose personal branding because I love working with the individual, with the person. So, yes, you are the brand. And I tell all of my clients, you have to act in that way. Every place you go, you have to, have the mindset. I am coming into this place not just as who Megan Molix, but I'm coming into this place as Megan Molix, the brand, because you never know who's watching. You never know who wants to connect with you. You never know who your next client, or not even client, but you just never know who is going to be a part of your brand or be impacted by your brand. So this is why some of the things that you do have to do while you are building your brand is also building yourself up as well, and to not separate the two. Now, there are moments that you do have to separate yourself from your brand. Those are, professional brands or service brands or product brands. But I want to speak to you, the individual, the person, the visionary. You cannot separate yourself from the vision because you are the one carrying the vision. When people see Dr. Marcy, they see Connecting Point. When people see Megan, they see Molix and Company. So you have to always know that as you are building your brand, also build yourself up. This is why public image is so important. One of the taglines for us is your reputation matters, because your reputation is very important. However you are perceived is how your brand is going to be perceived. This is why character development is important and professional development is important, because all of these things feed your brand. One of the things I love teaching about is credibility for personal brands. And we all want to be seen as credible, because being seen as a credible brand, you're seen as honest, as someone with integrity. You're seen as someone who does what they say they're going to do. You're seen as someone that your audience can trust. And that is an important key, because if people can't trust you, they're not going to support you. You can be the most skilled, you can be the gifted, you can have the best product, the best service, the best everything. But if you're not credible, if people don't trust you, if you're not an honest person, that there will come a day and a time when your audience will leave you and go find someone else, because people want to support brands that they trust. They want to support brands that are honest, that are transparent, that are vulnerable. And you can have boundaries with your audience. You don't have to show them every part of you and your life, which I advise you should not. But you do have to have some form of vulnerability and transparency in order to connect with your audience, especially if you are just starting out, because you have to build that relationship. Remember, branding is all about the relationship between you and your audience. No matter if you are a pastor, politician, an entrepreneur, an author, a creative, whatever, you have an audience, and it's your job to foster the growth of that. So remember, everything that you reflect, everything that you do, everything that you say is going to also reflect on the brand that you're building.
Listening to you talk, I feel like somebody's watching this saying, well, isn't that being fake? No. Why? Because you're the brand. If you are building the brand based on who God created you to be, and the reason he created you, then it's not being fake. What's fake is if you're operating outside of that brand. I just want to clear that up, because for some reason I feel like somebody watching this is saying that I'm not trying to be fake. That's the fake is when you're not operating in the brand that you are called to operate in. Ooh,
Absolutely.
That's some good stuff. So we're building from the inside out.
That's right.
That's what the character is you're talking about. So building from the inside out, Megan, would that be equivalent to building it God's way? The brand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that specifically talks about the comment that you just made, because people have said that and people do say that. And my thing is this: be authentic to who you are.
That's
Be authentic to who you are. Be authentic to how God has made you. Not everyone has a bubbly personality. Not everyone is meant to serve luxury clients. Not everyone is meant to serve, moms and parents. Not everyone is meant to serve the same person. This is why you have your own audience. So build from a place of authenticity, but you also want to make sure, and this is true for how I deal with my clients. One of the foundations of our company is integrity. I don't
mm,
care if you're a bubbly person or not. I don't care if you're outgoing or not. What I do care about is if you have integrity.
integrity.
Because if we're going to help you build from a place of integrity, I'm going to help you build from the identity of who God has made you to be. I can have, right now, I have two different chefs that I've worked with. They are both in the same field, food industry.
Mhm.
They have two totally separate personalities. They have two totally separate brands. They have two totally separate audiences. So, this is why I tell people be your authentic self, because your audience is going to love that. Now, there are people, because I have to say this, I am a brand strategist. There are brands and people out here who are building brands off of certain behaviors
Mm,
and just certain ways of living. But guess what?
yep,
That's their business, that's their brand, that's what works for them. However, as far as my clientele and what we do, we build from a certain way. And that is, like you said, from the inside out, from a place of authenticity, building it God's way, especially for those who are in the public eye,
mm,
because you're representing not just yourself, not just your brand, but you're representing God as well. So we want to make sure that we are, of course, making our Father proud in everything that we're doing, giving Him all the glory in everything that we're doing. But we're also making sure that we are building from that authentic place. So build from the place of authenticity. You don't have to act a certain way, you don't have to be a certain way. We live in a time right now where everyone wants the truth,
that's
everyone wants
right.
transparency. Everyone wants you to be who you are. So build from that place, because I can guarantee there is an audience specifically for you. There's people that only you can serve.
That's
There's
right.
people that Dr. Marcy can reach that I can't. There's people that I can reach that Dr. Marcy can't. And that's the unique and great thing about what we're doing.
And anything that's not built on a firm foundation,
Mm-hmm.
meaning the real,
Right.
it's not gonna last anyway. It might look like it's making all this money. And
Right.
we're also, you said we're living in a time where people want the real. We're also living in a time where a lot of stuff is fake.
Right. Absolutely.
And you cannot just look at what you're seeing on social media
Right.
as the ace boom coon or whatever they call
Right.
it. It it's not real.
Right. Not at all.
It's not real.
Not at
Real
all.
is real is like, oh, the best way for me to describe real is getting your nails down in the dirt.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I
Right.
step outside the door, you gonna see me polished now, because I'm not gonna come out looking any kind of way.
Right.
Never
Right.
have.
Right.
But please believe there are times I'm up late,
Right.
I'm tired,
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and I have to keep moving. So
Absolutely.
you need to see the grit side
Mm-hmm.
that goes along with the glamour.
Right. Absolutely.
All of it's not glamour. So, oh, Megan, I mean, this was some good stuff. Yes. So, let me ask you this before we
Mhm.
end this conversation, just to give someone out there a starter, a simple starter.
Mhm.
What would you tell them to do to begin? Just one simple step
Mhm. So, okay.
to do to start. in the right direction of branding?
Okay. So when it comes to branding, the simple starter thing I would say to do is make sure that you have your values and what makes you unique already written out. Make sure that you know that. Make sure you know what makes you unique, what makes you different, because the essence of branding, the whole ideology of branding is being different,
That's
standing out from the crowd. When people ask themselves, how can I be different? What can I do different? You are literally saying, how do I build this brand? That is what branding is. Making yourself unique. So I would start there. What is your unique talents, traits? Start there and stay in that lane, and you will begin to work and within your brand, and you will begin to build your brand from that place.
it's amazing that you're talking about this. I just did a presentation the other day about everybody's smart. And
Mhm,
that's what I'm presenting, that
mhm.
everybody has something they can do well,
Right.
in identifying that.
Mhm.
Ooh, yes. Megan,
Yes.
we gotta do a double whammy. We probably could put our presentations together.
Right. We could. That would be awesome.
We could. I'm sitting here thinking, my mind is going, honey.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
Megan, could you leave? I like to ask the guests each week to leave a point to ponder.
Okay.
What would you want the audience to ponder on?
Hmm. What do I want the audience to ponder on? Let's see. Okay. So, because we've been talking about purpose, because we've been talking about building your brand, I would say this is what I want you to ponder on. If it has no purpose, then it has no place.
Ooh,
And if it has no place, then it doesn't belong in your brand.
ooh, Megan, say that again, please. What?
If it has no purpose, then it has no place. And if it has no place, it does not belong within your brand. And that came from my spiritual mother. She's always told us
Mm,
that. So
mm. I
I'm going
like
to
your
give credit
spiritual
where it's
mother.
due.
Listen, audience, if you know like I know, they can go for these relationships y'all in too, but we don't have time for that conversation. If they not, say that again, Megan, so I can
Yeah.
merge together, so I can connect this point. Come on.
Yes. And you're right. It goes for anything. If it has no purpose, it has no place. And if it has no place, then it doesn't belong within your brand.
All right now. Think about those folk y'all with. Who you with? Who you with? Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today in this conversation. I know that it's going to help somebody get started. Now, how can the audience, once they get started, they're going to need some little help coming,
Mhm.
to keep it going. How can they contact you for the
Mhm.
help they need?
They can visit my website. It is meganmolix.com. Also, if you're on social media, I'm a big social media person. So if you're on Facebook, or I'm on Facebook and on Instagram at I am Megan Alexandria. And I am also on TikTok as well, Megan A. Molix. So definitely go and follow me. And like I said, I'm a big social media person. So if you are on social media and you follow me, you have questions, feel free to send me a DM, or just go to my website and send a message through our contact form, and I will be more than happy to reach out to you.
Y'all get with her now. I'm telling you, listen, I'm not gonna tell you what I'm not gonna do. I'm getting ready to hook up with Megan because she's gonna help me now. And don't be looking at me funny when I start looking a little different here because she getting ready to help me do that. But thank you again, Megan, for taking the time to talk with
Well,
me.
thank
And
you.
as I say every week, audience, If you would like to be a part of a discussion on the Connecting Point, just reach out to me at drmarcyts@gmail.com. You can go to the website, Dr. Marcy's Connections, or you can join a group of creators of all kinds at the Connecting Point for Creators group on Facebook. It's just a platform to network with others, to promote each other, and to receive daily inspiration to stay in this race, to persevere, as we talked about earlier in this conversation. All I ask you to do is click, like, and share when you see the podcast, which will air on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on YouTube, Instagram TV, Facebook, Twitter, and on Wednesday nights at KBCN TV, Spotify, and Anchor. All right, audience. Thank you so much. And until we have this moment again, peace and blessings. Bye-bye.